What's happening, everyone? James Lynch here. I just got back from camping and I saw that the middleweight title fight at UFC 317 will not be happening between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. You see it there, courtesy of Homa Fight. Actually, courtesy Kevin Iole was the one who had the report saying that du Plessis has reportedly picked up an injury, will no longer be able to potentially face Khamzat Chimaev in their anticipated matchup at UFC 317. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about what I think is going to end up happening for the main event of UFC 317, my theory as to what the UFC is going to do. And then I'm going to talk about what should happen. Because I think those are two different things of what the UFC wants and what I think most people would want to see. We do have a few other things that have come out since this has happened. The first one being a tweet from Kaio Borillo saying that Khamzat said yes, the only thing that makes sense is an interim belt. This fight's going to be bigger than him versus Dricus, mark my words. Don't blame him for doing this. I don't know why Kaio has not got a fight next. He's been waiting on the sidelines for quite some time. You've also got Nasruddin Imavov in the mix too, that are sort of contenders just waiting to get another opportunity here. I like this fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. The issue I have is it shouldn't be for an interim title. Du Plessis fought in February. There's no reason to think that they should do a interim title fight. To me, you only do an interim title or a vacant title or anything like that if the fighter's going to be out for a while. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything. You guys let me know in the comments. I haven't heard anything about him being out for an extended period of time. He just can't fight at this event, and they need a main event. I understand that. They could still do this fight, but I just don't think there's any reason to do an interim title. And, if they did do it, then how's that fair to Imavov? He just knocked out Israel Adesanya. He should have to not get this fight. Like, that doesn't make sense either. Again, I like the matchup. I think they should just do the matchup, but don't do it for an interim title. Because let's be honest, even if they did make it for an interim title, I don't think that's going to be the fight to headline UFC 317. So again, these are some things that have come out. Would love to see this fight. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. But for them, getting to fight for an interim title, I don't think it is fair. Just like it wasn't fair that Shavkat Rakhmonov had to fight Ian Gary without a title. Again, people have short memories. I'm sure the same people talking about wanting to see Chimaev fight for an interim title. I don't think we're too upset that Shavkat got to fight Ian Gary, and Bilal Muhammad, who had to withdraw from his fight, didn't get the same opportunity. It's similar circumstances. Bilal won the belt, in the summer, and then he couldn't fight in December. I didn't hear a lot of people complaining about not being an interim title. To me, this is the same situation. So yeah, right after that, no need for an interim title. I would rather just see the fight. And again, it's not fair that Chimaev would have to fight again, but if he wants to stay active, I think it's a good option. And if he's really this good, then you should be able to beat a guy like Kaio Borillo, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I stand on that. Okay, so again, I think even if this was made for a title, even if they put this fight together, I don't think that's going to headline the card personally. I just don't think that's what the UFC wants. So here's what I think is going to end up happening. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, everyone, but what does the UFC usually do when they need someone to headline a card? They go to Alex Pereira. I have no doubt that they're going to end up doing Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev 2 to headline this card. I have no insight into this, by the way. Like, no one's told me that this is going to happen. This just makes sense. What does the UFC do? Who's their, get out of jail free card, if we're using a Monopoly analogy? That is Alex Pereira. That's what the UFC does. When they can't figure out, who to headline a card, if they're in a pinch, they go to Pereira. I don't know if Ankalaev's ready to go, but that is what I think is going to end up happening. The only other fight I could see possibly headlining this card, and this is, again, is just a guess, I have no insight into this, is they could do a BMF title fight between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. That could be Poirier's retirement fight. The only reason I don't think this might not happen, I don't know if it's necessarily short notice, but other than maybe getting a BMF title here, does Dustin Poirier really gain anything for his retirement fight fighting Max Holloway again? He's already beat him twice, and I know that one was in a different weight class, but I'm just thinking, like, this is the type of fight I could see they could put together, kind of like what they did with Gaethje and Max Holloway last year when they put that fight together. I could see something similar happening. So, I wouldn't mind seeing these two throw down again, but I want to see Ankalaev and Pereira. I want to see the rematch. I think that would be interesting. I don't think that's the type of fight you should be headlining UFC 317. To me, the International Fight Week card should be a big event, big fight. These are two big names, but this doesn't give me, International Fight Week vibe, even though that's kind of what we've seen the last couple, is them going to Alex Pereira. So that's what I think is going to happen. Now, what should happen, in my opinion, and I've done a ton of videos on this already, and you can find them here on the channel, the fight they should be doing here is Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. I think I got the video here somewhere. That's somewhere in here. Yeah, this is the fight they should do. I've said it time and time again, and let me know in the comments, but you name me a bigger fight right now other than Jones and Aspinall than Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. Yes, I know Islam wants to fight for the second belt, but if you're looking at this from a purely business standpoint, cash in on this ticket now, do Islam, do Topuria. That makes a ton of sense for me. Everyone's happy. I don't think people would be that disappointed. I think out of all the options we've mentioned here, Ilia and Islam is the best option right now, especially with the fact that we're not going to get DDP and Chimaev. That to me is the best option. But like I said, the UFC is a business. They're going to probably end up going with this fight just as a guess. Again, no insight into this whatsoever. And this goes back to a larger topic and something I just did a video on recently. And that is, I have this video here, 5 ways to improve the UFC's product. They do too many events. I feel like we keep running into the same problem. This happened last year too with UFC 300. It happened with UFC 303. The UFC's having a hard time putting main events together because they're doing too many events. They don't have a lot of options. And if you watch that video, I suggest that they do less events. They make Dana White Contender Series year round. They cut the roster. That's something I forgot to mention in the last video. I think a lot of the fighters you're seeing in the UFC right now are not, maybe not a lot, but I think there's a good chunk of fighters in the UFC right now that are not UFC caliber. I think the quality of what it means to be a UFC fighter has gone down drastically. And I think that's as a result of the UFC needing to fill holes at the last minute. Like even this Saturday, at the time of recording this for Kansas City, they just called someone up, Gage Young, who, I know was on Contender Series. Good to see him get this opportunity, but is he UFC caliber? I don't know. We're going to find out. I think there's a lot of times they bring fighters in the UFC and they're not necessarily ready. So I think if the UFC did less events, you'd have more fighters to pick from in terms of them not having to do events all the time. And I know you want to keep fighters active, but I think there's other ways to do that. In my opinion, this is what they're probably going to end up going with is a type of fight like this. And like, do you guys like this? Like, honestly, let me know if this does end up getting made as the main event. Is that good enough for you guys? Like, for me, I just feel that we haven't had, we just had UFC 314. That was a really good card. They really stacked the deck with that one. But how many times do you feel like we get cards like that? I feel like we don't have it often enough. There's that anticipation, that build up to a card. I feel like we don't get that anymore because the UFC's like, we need a main event. We got to put something together. And they just don't seem to have it. So for me, I would like to see them try and be a little bit more organized and have more options at their disposal. Now they could go out there and completely surprise me. Maybe they pick something that I haven't even suggested here. That could happen. We've got some time. Today's April 20th. The card is taking place June 28th. So we have a little bit of time here, but I could also see them having to do something that's just a little bit out of the ordinary. So we'll see what Hunter Campbell, Dana White, and the whole team is able to put together. But yeah, if I'm a betting man right now, I think it's going to end up being Ankalaev and Pereira too. Maybe Tom Aspinall, but again, I think with Aspinall, they want to use him for those international cards because he's got to fight at some point. Like, I'm just looking at the current champions right now. Like, who's available, right? Like, there isn't much. Again, Islam's an option, but doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I think the rumor is Pantoja and Kai Kara France will also be part of this card. Merab's fighting at 316. Bilal's fighting at 315. Like, what am I missing here? John Jones isn't fighting. This is what I mean. They pinned themselves into a corner. This is supposed to be one of their biggest cards of the year, and now they're going to be scrambling because of one injury. You know what I mean? Like, that's how crazy it's been now with the UFC. They do so many events now that you can have one injury and it really screws up a lot of your plans. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know what main event you'd like to see for UFC 317. What do you think of this talk of an interim title? I don't think it's needed. I really don't. Duplessis just fought a couple months ago. If it's a Yuri Prohaska situation or Jamal Hill situation where they're going to be up for like a year, yes, you could do an interim title that way. But there's no reason to do it just because he can't fight on their timeline. That's not his fault. That's the fault of the UFC schedule, in my opinion. So follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.